Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato Sambuddhassa. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Dhammaya. Namo Sanghaya. We pay respect to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the fully enlightened Buddha. So I was at a monastery in Orlando yesterday, and we had one of the nuns asked if I could bring in I brought Stephen to go do some yard work over there, and then we came back to the monastery down here, and then we were, unloading some of the stuff that the nun had in the car, and then Most Venerable walked out, and I grabbed the floor, and he tried to excuse me, but I already completed my third bow before he could excuse me. Then there was 2 more monks that's in there. I don't know. I think they're visiting or something. Um, so yeah, it was a very um, it was a very festive night last night. Very monastic. All you see is monastic. Even though I try to avoid people, but yesterday I tried to give a talk on YouTube, and just couldn't avoid people. They came up there like, "Hi, where are you from?"
It's hilarious.
Yeah. So tell me about your week. It must be eventful.
I ended up getting sick for a few days after.
Mm.
Good.
She gave it to you.
I don't know.
See what kissing does to you?
I missed a couple days of work.
Mm.
I worked my first full day on Thursday. I'm just mostly resting prior to that, which was nice. Took some time off. And my PTO was replenished, so.
Oh. Some of you still get paid?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
So they gave me some time. It's have to accumulate it over the course of a year, but I've been there long enough. My boss was like, "Yeah, you're good. We'll give it to you up front."
Mm.
So that was nice. So that I'm not worried about anything financially for the upcoming week, which is always a nice stress relief.
Mm.
And I don't know, it's been a relatively uneventful week.
Yeah.
Full weekend. Good. Good. My weeks are flying by fast. Everything's moving so fast. As you get older, it gets faster.
Yeah. Put myself out of my comfort zone a little bit on Sunday. Just feeling well enough to go for a little walk around the park.
Mm.
So I went up there, and it was interesting because how foggy it was.
Mm-hmm.
The park was just as foggy as it was early in the morning. You couldn't see the spark in front of you.
Mm.
It was in the afternoon, and it was really, really cool, very surreal. And told her, I said, this is like the time sharks come up out of the water. She's like, stop it. So we're walking around, and sure enough, there was a shark that went by.
You guys were in the water?
No. But I have had that happen to me before. So I remember a buddy of mine, my best friend who passed away. We were fishing once, and we were out all day. And right as the sun was set, during the summer months, about 9 o'clock at night, caught his last fish. And we're trying to get that last fish in. I'm terrible at fishing, and now I don't fish at all anymore. But it was so funny because he gets this, he got a backpack full of fish, and then comes along this blacktail, just takes it from him right off his line, about not much farther from you to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at him, and he looked at me, and he's like, "Time to go," because we were in the water about waist deep.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of a similar experience. But we were outside of the water, me and her. We were just standing on the bank, just enjoying the serene, trippy environment
Mm.
that we were blessed with. And that happened, and then there was a kid that was fishing, and kind of just brought these memories back to me. And there was a guy, I'm assuming his father. And I put myself out of my comfort zone a little bit. And I was like, "You see that shark out there a few minutes ago?" Started talking to the guy, found out, having a random, nice conversation with a stranger, which was really outside of my comfort zone.
Mm.
So that was different. And I had conversations with strangers all day over the phone, but that's my job. You
Mm.
know, face to face with the person that I have no reason to talk to other than just trying to be nice and polite. And found out he was from New Jersey or whatever, and he was visiting. I'm like, this is one of the most rare experiences you'll ever get being here. It doesn't get like this during the day.
Mm.
So that was cool. Talked to him for a few minutes. Just
I see. Let's take a couple minutes to meditate, huh? Focus on the breath. So put this other music on for meditation. So just use one of the four techniques and let's get in our meditation position. Back straight, shoulders relaxed, relaxing all of the muscles on our face. First, three deep breaths. As you breathe, just notice the rising of the abdomen and the falling of the abdomen, tracking each breath, noticing the in breath, the out breath, long, short. Remember to put a small smile on your face, setting our intention for the day. Take 2 deep breaths. Remind yourself of your posture. Back is straight, shoulders relaxed. As we conclude, let us take our last 3 deep breaths. Slowly we relax our concentration. clarity you can arise from your meditation. So you guys are aware I took Austin and Stephen out to the waters, right? I gave the guided meditation. It was mindfulness of the breath with intermittent deep breaths, followed by the guided loving kindness meditation. And Austin was hooked, just completely hooked. Stephen, I got to go back to the video and analyze it again because I stuck the GoPro right where Stephen was. And that was a good position of the camera because I can measure the face, especially this right here, when they're battling with their minds in their head and not letting go. Whereas Austin just let go. He just let go to the sound of the music, to let go to the instructions. He was just with the flow. Went back and told his parents about it. And it's something that I think it's better intermittent when you do deep breaths intermittent. It keeps it engaging. But this was out in the waters too, so it was ultra peaceful, ultra zen out there. Yesterday, when I was giving the talk, there was the statue of the Buddha behind me. It was a humongous. I mean, that statue was huge. And I guess there was something about the energy of just that statue in the live that 500 people on TikTok tuned in for like an hour. They sat there for like an hour just listening.
Awesome.
So I may hold a retreat there, and I like the abbot, which I didn't even know he was an abbot. He was shorter than me. And when I first met him, I was like, I had a moment because I went and I salutated him, and then first thing he asked was, "How many vasa are you? Like, how many years have you been a monk?" Like it was a very direct thing to me, and I mean, I find it sometimes scratch my head. I'm like, why does that matter? Because we're all on equal footing.
Right.
That just display a lot of measurements and attachment to one's title or attachment to one's years. And like Venerable Yudatamo said, I'm just a homeless beggar. Well, he was the abbot, and he didn't tell me that. And then I didn't even find out till yesterday after everything was said and done. And I'm like, what, really? Oops, I forgot to bow. But he's chill. Obviously, he stood a little long with me, and I realized when someone stands a little that long with me, then they want to know something about me. So I just took that time to feed him what I wanted him to know about me. But he seems to be pretty chill, and hopefully I can hold a retreat there. It's huge. It's like if you count the lake and the land, it's about like 4 football fields.
Wow.
It's so big that the monks ride golf carts. They do. He actually asked me if I needed a golf cart. I'm like, I'm young. No, you guys are great. No, I'm good. I'll walk, but you don't have to walk in the back quarters.
Yeah.
So it's something. It's literally Disney World of Buddhism.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Where was that at? Orlando?
It's in Leesburg, which is near Orlando. It's like half an hour away from Orlando. And I plan to, I really plan a retreat there. And there's a lot of Americans that came, so I'll have to coordinate with the abbot. I, you know, he strikes me as a quiet, strict, direct man. So you have to kind of gauge them to hold certain conversations. But our primary teacher oversees all of us. So we're all students of the primary teacher. Uh, so So tell me about your CBT endeavor this week.
You want to go first or you want me to?
You go first.
I started to notice as I made my way to the end of the book, it's just a lot of repetition, different examples.
Mm.
I was cracking up other things.
I got people in Puerto Rico ordering this book now.
Oh, good.
I swear I should have gotten royalties. Somebody from that company should have reached out and said, "Thank you so much. We made millions because of you. Millions."
Yeah, it was when I got to this section, I started cracking up. Psychological gardening, maintaining your CBT gains. As it's just all repetition now at this point. It's just going through talking about referring to chapter 18 or chapter 10 or 12 or whatever the case is, and using examples from earlier in the book. But what was cracking me up, I was talking to her about it. First off, is like, and I get like the create, she would just check me a little bit. It's just the creative aspect of trying to verbalize the work in a different way. And then like the silent garden and like a mental garden and all this stuff and dealing with recurrent weeds. And I was getting hung up on the word weed. But it was like a happy gardens checklist, and I read that, I started cracking up. Reminded me of Bob Ross, a happy little tree.
Mm.
And there's that, but it's just reiterating everything that it teaches you earlier in the book. Stay calm, identify your triggers, use what you learned from CBT, be compassionate with yourself, putting things into perspective, face your fears, which is what I was talking about, talking to that stranger at the park. That's out of my comfort zone. So I'm starting to try to do a little bit of the things that I normally wouldn't be so comfortable with to really battle that. Kind of, for being a salesman, it's strange that I have social anxiety. I used to cover that up and mess that up. So probably pretty much been able to set that back. And even in certain situations, if we went out to dinner, went to a restaurant that we hadn't been to in a long time, and it was bringing up old thoughts that I wasn't even thinking of at the moment, but it was like I felt it in my body. Julia helped me. We're using some, actually, she was, I don't even think you realized it, maybe you did, but just recommending some of the techniques that we learn about anxiety and stuff like that, identifying the issue, because I love the restaurant we went to. It's one of my favorite restaurants, but I used to go there with people that I no longer spend time with because they're drinking and stuff like that. So I'll go there and hang out, and we had a couple dates there early on in our relationship, again, drinking beer and stuff. So going there, kind of brought those feelings up. I was like, oh, beer. I got sweet tea. It ended up being a really, really fun time. I literally took my hair out and I was like, I gotta let my hair down. As soon as I did that, I just completely relaxed, shook it out, felt great. But yeah, the biggest thing I've noticed is just now just going back and repeating itself over and over again, which isn't a bad thing. I mean, repetition is important. But it's like kind of like checking yourself, overcoming obstacles to progress, maintaining your garden, heading for a healthier, happier life, all that stuff. Just kind of like fine tuning it. The biggest thing that I notice is, what did I write down? Something. There's these questions, some questions that help continue to grow. Use what you need, which is the most important thing, because there's not every tiny little thing in the book is going to work for every person. So they give you a number of different ways to use what you need to use. What works best for you? I like this. It was like these questions. What areas do I need to keep working on most in order to maintain? What CBT strategies aid me the most? and what are the most useful techniques we applied to overcome emotional problems. And I didn't answer them yet. I was just taking notes. I wanted to do that, later on, but answer those questions and stuff. As I know what kind of works best for me already is mostly the anxiety is my biggest thing. I very rarely get genuinely angry anymore. And if I had, it's for like a second, and I check it right away. I know how to kind of put that one down. But the anxiety that I get from time to time, it's just usually social situations now, so or anticipation of it. So the checklist where it's like, what is the issue? I forget what the name of the thing right now, but it's like making the three section um, graph, if you will. Is like, what are you anxious about? What is your anxiety level on a scale of 1 to 10? Do the task. What was the actual discomfort? And every time the discomfort is way lower than the anticipated anxiety.
Hmm.
So that's like my favorite thing that I've learned from CBT, and I just do it mentally every time. If I do it on paper, I'll do it. Like if I need to do it on paper, I will. But it's kind of like in the moment, I'm like, all right, identify the trigger. How am I feeling? Do it. How bad was it actually?
Mhm.
And so that's my favorite technique. You know, everything else is just. I didn't get through this one yet, so I had to rest for a few days.
Mhm.
But I had 2 chapters left.
Oh, you got really far.
Only a few pages left.
Okay.
20, I think it's 20 pages.
Miss Julia.
Do you want me to talk about what I missed from last
Yeah.
week?
Where were you at?
I was at chapter 14.
Mm-hmm.
And that was overcoming obsessions.
Mm.
So, obsessions can be like they're very persistent, unwanted thoughts, images, doubts, or urges that intrude into your mind. And I've had obsessions over stuff in the past.
Mm.
Um, some of the common OCD behaviors or fears, excuse me, are like fear of accidentally or deliberately causing harm to yourself or others, religious obsessions, dire need for order, symmetry, or routine, fear of losing something important, and the behaviors of it is like checking, over cleaning, stuff like that, counting, and yeah. Then chapter 15 is overcoming your low self-esteem and accepting yourself. So, disturbing feelings will cause depression, anxiety, shame, guilt, anger, just all a bunch of like negative emotions. Uh, and it's often rooted in the low self-opinion of yourself. Um, this was something that it's something I'm working on currently is building my self-esteem. So when I start feeling bad about myself or something, I try to rewire that programming, and I'm like, I'm beautiful, I'm confident, what I say is important, and I value,
Mm.
And this is something that was in there that I started because it says if you don't have a sturdy belief that your value is an intrinsic or built in, you may have difficulty concluding that you have any worth at all when things go wrong for you. And I was like, yeah, that's very true. Chapter 16 was about anger, and the major thing that it was talking about was discerning the difference between healthy and unhealthy anger.
Mm.
Healthy anger is helpful annoyance and irritation. However, unhealthy anger is unhelpful, which is rage and hate.
Mm.
Unhealthy anger is really rigid, overestimating the degree to which people are like deliberately acting in an undesirable way towards you and stuff like that.
Mm.
Um, the behaviors with unhealthy anger is attacking or wanting to attack another person physically or verbally, plotting revenge, being passive aggressive. Physical signs are clenching the fist and jaw, muscular tension, raised heart rate, and feeling hot. And then it goes over how uh, the differences of how or what healthy anger is.
Mm.
And yeah. Then chapter 17 was talking about fears of your health, like being worried that about your health to a degree that's just not healthy, having a lot of anxiety with that. Then chapter 18 is taking a look at your past. It's what that chapter is about is looking really into your core beliefs that you've developed from your childhood to see how they're not helpful, and situations that bring that about. Death of loved one, growing up with neglectful, critical, abusive parents or siblings, being bullied at school or on social media,
Mm.
Undergoing trauma, experiences of racism or discrimination, a handful of different things that create core beliefs. And the beliefs are about yourself, other people, and the world. And there's a method that you can use called the downward arrow method, and it helps pinpoint your problematic core beliefs to identify the situation that causes you to have an unhealthy negative emotion. And in there, it says that dreams can show you like some of your core beliefs. So it was saying to pay attention to your dreams and stuff like that. And then I got to chapter 19, and it's integrating your new beliefs with your daily mindset, emotions, and actions instead of just like knowing it conceptually, actually believing it. And so it's acting, you want to act as if you already believe whatever new belief system you want to put in place. And some things to ask yourself would be like, how would I behave if I truly considered my new belief to be true? How would I overcome situational challenges to my new belief if I truly considered it to be true and helpful? So it's like integrating the new beliefs and stuff that you want.
Mm.
But yeah, that's as far as I got.
Mm. Have you integrated new beliefs?
I've been, but I still have work to go.
Mm. Good. Very comprehensive. Goodness, look at the notes she's taking.
Yeah.
My God, like a professor.
I had to
Prepare to
cut,
teach a class.
I had to cut my notes down.
Hmm.
There is this copy of notes of the book.
Any anyone touch up on the foundations of mindfulness?
So, what I got for that, what's it called? Satipatthana Sutta.
Mm.
Talks about the Four Noble Truths, Noble Eightfold Path, the Threefold Training, the Three Poisons of Humanity. It kind of goes over that. Virtuous conduct, cast out lust. I have a hard time reading that. Virtuous conduct, cast out lust. Calm of true concentration and mental culture conquers hatred. Wisdom or right understanding, so called direct knowledge, uh, which is a result from meditation. So, to achieve wisdom through meditation dispels all delusion. And these three types of training are possible only through the cultivation of mindfulness or sati, which forms the seventh link of the Noble Eightfold Path. A couple pages on it. some of it I gave to you last time, the more extensive stuff. But I realized as I was going through it, the four foundations of mindfulness. There's contemplation of the body, contemplation of feeling, contemplation of consciousness, and it breaks it down in depth, like contemplation of the body, mindfulness of the breath, which is the biggest thing to me right now. Mindfulness with clear comprehension, reflection on the repulsiveness of the body. So that's important. Very important. Reflection on the material elements of the body and what are the material elements, which I didn't write that down, but it was like fire and water and
Wind.
and all that, the five elements. So the wind would be the breath, and I think the fire is,
The digestive system.
I think so.
It's okay. You don't have to know you don't have to know that yet. I just want to make you guys aware
Right.
of it.
Yeah. It's interesting because every time you think it's so in depth, and you really, it's like law. You have the law, you have the explanation of it, the breakdown of it, and then all the little tiny details, which I think is actually a lot of fun. The ninth cemetery, contemplations, death of the body. And there's contemplation of feelings, so the mindfulness of pain, pleasure, the neutral feeling, physical and emotional, worldly and spiritual, contemplation of consciousness. Those the duality with and without lust and ignorance and distraction, and then contemplation of the mental objects, the five hindrances, sense desires, present and not present, anger again, duality, what is and what is not there, being too lazy, getting angry, agitation, remorse, doubt. The five aggregates of clinging are underneath the five hindrance, or underneath contemplation of mental objects. What we want, we put live detached and cling to nothing. Enjoy what we have while it's here. Understand it's already gone. It's already broken. Something that's really helped me. I like the Funko Pops and the little big-headed things, specifically for Dragon Ball. I kind of collect those. Julia kindly got me a whole horde of them for Christmas, and one of them I got was a very rare one she found for me, and it was like triple boxed or whatever. It was in a box, inside a plastic box, inside another box, and I see the plastic like clear, and then inside the other box with the front, and then inside the plastic wrap around it, and then it was like shrunk wrap, and I was like, and it was older, so it was a collector's one, and I'm like, tear it apart. I looked at it, I was like, should I open this? I'm like, absolutely, because I don't care about how much it's worth or not worth. I want to enjoy it for what it is while I have it. The little thing up, and I'm like, yay. So I can enjoy it. And keeping it in the, what's the point of having a toy if you don't play with it? So those are little things I try to practice.
Have any one of you listened to any YouTubes on the four foundations of mindfulness?
I haven't this week.
I'm not. So Okay. Use the restroom for a second and come back and read this article from Bhikkhu Bodhi.
Is today the 8th?
Yes.
Excuse me. I didn't at the end of the foundation something.
Yeah, I didn't tell you to. It's my fault. Oh my goodness.
When you go parallel on your side,
What do you mean?
like on your side.
Why?
So when you pull yourself up from laying down like that, just straight up, you're actually hurting your back.
Really?
Yeah, so when you lay down, you want to go on your side before you get up.
This?
Yes. It's been this one like that.
It's quite a fairly short article, but just let's get through the basics of this. First foundation, contemplation of the body. This is by Bhikkhu Bodhi, also known as Gaya Nupassana. Is said to comprise of 14 exercises. The first is mindfulness of breathing. This is the meditation subject the Buddha himself used on the night of his enlightenment. And throughout his teaching career, he praised it as an unadulterated, blissful abiding that banishes unwholesome thoughts as soon as they arise. Breathing naturally through the nostrils, one focuses on the breath at the point around the nostril or upper lip, where the air can be felt moving in and out. The key to the entire practice is succinctly expressed in the Buddha statement: just mindful one breathes in, mindful one breathes out. The awareness of breath cuts through the complexity of discursive thinking, pulling us back from mental meandering and anchoring the mind securely in the present. Discursive means digressing from subject to subject, the awareness of breath cuts through the complexities of discursive thinking, complexity of subject to subject thinking, pulling us back from mental meandering and anchoring the mind securely in the present. Meandering means following a winding course, an act of following a winding course, pulling us back from the mental meandering, winding course, and anchoring the mind securely in the present. So, just this one paragraph alone, you all see that what I have been teaching you is right, true, and correct in regards to breathing in. You know you're breathing in, breathing out, you know you're breathing out. However, what this paragraph did is slowing you down even more about the one focuses on the breath at the point around the nostrils or upper lip, where the air can be felt moving in and out. of which I don't do initially because then it gets too weird. And it gets really weird for people. People are like, oh, what is this? So I wait for a little bit, right? I wait for a little bit till it comes to this point. And see, now I notice now I read it out of the text, the book, from an authoritative figure, and not sit here and you all you all should have been there when we went to our training for mindfulness eating, and they were talking about the raisin, and they were like literally, it sounded like they were sexualizing the raisin, and I was like, oh boy, this is gonna sound really weird to Americans. And they're like, pick up the raisin and then feel the raisin and then smell the raisin and then put it on your tongue and then literally. So something should be something should be left towards the end, or the analytical part needed to be way towards the end and not introduced in the very beginning because people are like, what is happening here? This means that now when you're breathing, because some people breathe really fast, that includes me, and sometimes we forget to analyze how slow the breath is or how long, discerning how long and short the breath actually really is. So when you're alone out in nature underneath a tree or something like that, remember how you can analyze the wind blowing through your skin and you realize that that was one hell of a, or it was a slow, or in the summertime when you're sitting like me, um, meditating, and it's hot, and you'd be lucky if you get a oh, just a small breeze passing by. And you can analyze it. Literally, you can write about your experience of the wind, just feeling the wind alone. The mindfulness of the breath is to feel the wind that you're producing, the natural movement. That's why we hear in some of my guided meditation, I said, notice the natural movement of the pleasure of the breath, and to also notice the suffering in the breath. Because as you breathe, you realize, oh, I gotta inhale again to cycle the breath. That's suffering in the breath. You realize that it takes effort and energy necessary to go in, and then it goes out. You realize that, how relieving it is. It is no wonder that in the text the Buddha says, when attending to nature's call, darn it, just enjoy attending to nature's call. You know what I mean? Mm. So the breath is really important because at any moment your body could do all sorts of things, and when you hone in on it, it's easy to release and to just enjoy it and to see it. Literally, the breath teaches you the first noble truth. It teaches you birth, old age, disease, decay, and death. Because if you can't take a couple breaths, you're done, dude.
Right.
You're gonna turn blue real quick. When we take our in breath, we're giving birth, or the creation of a samsaric cycle of birth and death of each samsaric cycle of birth and death of each breath. Creation, birth, and we breathe out death of that birth. If you were to enjoy one cycle of breath and the next cycle you realize that it's not the same, that would be decay. That would be change. Somewhere down the line, we're not getting the same. If you had bronchitis, if you have something that obstructs pulmonology, Then you realize that it's disease in the First Noble Truth. All can be found in the breath. And all can also be found in the breath of another. You go into the pulmonology department and you realize certain people can't breathe the same, have asthma. That gives rise direct evidence to disease. It's part of seeing nature as it is, just by through the breath alone. How amazing! You can achieve enlightenment just by through the breath, the one that is built already in you. And if you're healthy, you know, sound, intelligent, enlightenment can be like that. See, trust the teacher and trust the process. The Buddha was our teacher. Just laid it all out. According to the sutta, mindfulness of breath unfolds in four stages. The first two stages, one simply observes the inhalation and exhalation by way of duration, noting whether they are long or short, which is what we did as we were going through the meditation. I says notice when it's long, and I said discern and when it is short. Duration, nature, intensity, length, vicissitude, oscillation, vacillations. That's something I added. This is not in the lines drawer. I am extra, like always. And why am I being extra? It's because you're analyzing the breath. I mean, anapanasati is analyzing the breath. We're giving you stuff to do here. It's a homework assignment. It's like when you see a monk sitting there, like, what are you doing? Why does it look so boring? That is so boring. Back straight, shoulders relaxed. He's attentive, but attentive to what? His eyes is closed, but we feel that he is still conscious. He is awake. He is aware. He is vigilant. Vigilant of what? What is he aware of? His eyes is closed. We don't get it. Uh, he's analyzing his breath. When I went to Dalat City, there was this monk, and he just sat there. It literally felt like a Buddha was there. Everyone was just, we were in a monastery. He just chose the most awkward place to sit and meditate. And we were just like, okay. And I just looked at the image of him, and I was just like, but then when I went through the study, I realized that he's analyzing the how long his breath is, how short it is. He's taking his deep breaths. He's noticing how it oscillates, how it vacillates, just the direction of it. Obviously, only one direction, but he's playing with it. He's trying to just notice it. He's trying to keep his mind still, brought under control by through the use of his breath. Now, for some of us monks, we don't have to go that far of analyzing our breath because it has become so automatic. But if your mind begins to trip, you go back to the one pointed concentration technique. And that's why I teach the four, which is breathing in, I know I'm breathing in, breathing out, I know I'm breathing out. Number two, the counting method, in breath one, out breath one, in breath two, out breath two. These are basics to ease you in. These are prerequisites to ease you into the more psychological, more analytical techniques of the breath. Because if I tell you just start analyzing that hard, that long, you realize it's mentally taxing. And thus people render the conclusion that meditation is too difficult for me rather than just count and, enjoy, and just breathe. And eventually it gets easier if you don't resist to it, if you trust the process. At the third stage, along with in and out breath, one experiences the body in its entirety. And in the fourth stage, one comes the bodily function, letting the breath and other bodily function gradually quiet down until they become extremely subtle. So by and through the breath, you're able to calm down all sorts of cardiology, gastroenterology, neurology, as we've seen some of the fMRI scans. Eventually, by and through the breath, your body is calm, very, very calm. That's why I've said before that if you master the breath, you actually know when you're going to die. You know, when you get older, your body tells you, hey, dude, I'm clocking out in like 5 minutes. So tell your daughter to get here now and say what needs to be said. You've got another 2 minutes to say what needs to be said. You're so in tune with your body that you just know when you're fading out. No different than anesthesia when the propofol goes into you, and once you see this and you start seeing the line turn white, you realize that you have those then 30 seconds to say what needs to be said. I do that during my colonoscopy, and I play with all the nerves because everyone's all alert and vigilant and like liability and everything. And as soon as I see that white start to come into my veins, I scream out, scream, mind you. What in the butt? Ew.
Yeah.
And I hear them all laugh, and then I get knocked out. Then I die. And I really convinced myself I'm going to die, so I might as well make them laugh as I die. Because the propofol really, and it's the most amazing experience. No wonder Michael Jackson loves it. It's because your ears start to, you can't hear anymore. People's sounds, the laugh becomes further away. And the eyes is like just starting to get blurry. You're done, dude. You're out of here. And of course, as a monk, it just compounds the laugh. They just can't believe he's in here. He's gonna get a colonoscopy, and he just said, "What in the butt?" And all the nurses just think, we're done. We're retiring. Someone here wrote on TikTok, famous last words. This is why people should tune in on Sundays.
Oh,
I
that's
have
hilarious.
all sorts of surprises for the world. The
That's
young
so
monk.
funny. Famous last words.
Hell, I'll do that when I'm 90. I'll say, what in the butt? And then I die, and they're like, oh, well, he just became an arahant, and that's the last his words. Just what in the butt? And then doctor's gonna use it. Doctor's gonna be like, y'all should get colonoscopies for colon cancer because the one great arahant, Jidao, said what in the butt before he died and achieved full enlightenment. So
That's hilarious.
comes the bodily function. And remember the sacredtext.org or whatever you guys read, remember? It talks about the weakening of vital forces. Oh, that's some serious words. The weakening of vital forces. Um, the next practice in contemplation of the body is mindfulness of the postures, which extends mindfulness to all postures walking, standing, sitting, and lying down. One, two, three, four. And to change from one posture to another. That means you all are free to move around. That's why I said it's okay to move around. People are just like, no, if he's sitting like this, we need to sit just like him. When walking, one knows that one is walking. When standing, that one is standing. When sitting, that one is sitting. When lying, that one is lying. Contemplation of all posture eliminates the impersonal nature of the body, revealing it to be a configuration of living matter subject to the directing influence of volition. What does that mean? That means when, depressed people, their backs are kind of like this, their shoulders are kind of down, they look really down, their body's not erected, alert, awake, conscious, aware, breathing normally. And one of my friend that I grew up with always walked with this like this down. Like, dude, what? Come on, chin up. It's no wonder in church it says lift up to the Lord. And also you see people, they go in there, they go and they do the sign, the cross, and then lift up, and then the priest said lift up to the Lord, and everyone start literally looking up to Jesus up in the wall. Mindfulness of posture. The directing influence of volition, posture, and it reminds you of what's happening, what's unfolding, what needs to be done. If you look at the postures and positions of people who are presidents, lawyers, when they stand there, they're like, you can see that their chest is forward, they're ready for battle, arguing. And let me just throw in there because this is catchy. Just bear with me. The posture of sex. The posture of sex. What does that mean? Well, when the man's getting ready to, you down, I'm down, let's do this, you clearly see that his posture, like it says here, directing influence of volition. Volition is intention. He has the intent to procreate. Damn it, let's do this. you know? So that brings back posture, standing, again, aware of what we're doing, what we're about to do. Yeah, that posture thing is, if one doesn't get that thing down later in life, it really molds your whole back.
Yeah.
To be like Hunchback of Notre Dame. Yeah, it's terrible. It's horrific to see people in canes and looking like that. There is this one old woman in Yachang City, literally on my street. I have like little like, I don't even call it a street. I don't even know what you call it, but the opening of the road is like there is little opening, like little veins. They call it in the veins of whatever it is, the hamlets, or the streets like that big. She is 90 degrees with her cane. That means the legs are doo, and then her back is literally 90 degrees. You can literally eat on her back. Yeah, you can literally eat on her back. She's walking like that. I don't know how to be that posture. It must have been a diagnosis that we don't know about. That's a question for orthopedics or chiropractors, but one should, you know what I mean? One should always walk with intention that I'm going to conquer my day. One should always walk that, I'm not depressed. I'm fighting it right now through the mindfulness of the posture. Now, why did I use the sex position as an example? Is because probably that's the only time men are like, "Wow."
Yeah.
When everybody's naked, of course, I mean, hopefully some people out there are playful and it's like, "Ugh," that's when you're the lion, right? The lion. I mean, who gets ready to have sex and they're like, you know, but it's human nature: eat, poop, sleep, and sex. So you might as well, again, that's hopefully that is catchy for young people, catchy so to catch them when they're young. So you don't you're You're about to like conquer. So just bring yourself, carry yourself. You're gonna conquer the day. You're gonna conquer the women. Well, conquer something, damn it. Don't be depressed during sex. Don't be depressed during any other activity. That's the point I'm trying to get across. Gotta use the restroom again. I drank a lot of water this morning. Reflect on what I just said. Reflect real deep.
It's interesting. I have some clients that when they lay down, they can't relax their neck down to the table.
Oh wow.
So they're like this, yeah, and I have to like either hold their neck or whatever. That's from keeping their head forward.
Yeah.
It's from stuff like that. Probably is diagnostic for it, but like a lot of the time it's just not being, like you're saying, being mindful of the posture, which creates a lot of problems. And that's what I've been working on with Jody is fixing my bodily alignment and my posture.
Stretching my back out. And my posture.
What you just said, I see a lot. Like I see a lot of clients that like have problems with their bodily like alignment and structure. There's some clients that lay flat on the table and their head is like up. They can't put it back onto the table, and it's like it's sad to see like the suffering that they have physically.
Makes you wonder how they sleep.
Yeah.
I'm slow to answer or project my next because I'm thinking in my head, what else? What other example? Oh, the job of the teacher is to speak and be creative so that you all remember. Memorable. Even though how strange or weird it sounds, the clinical applications of it to your life, to your well-being, and to your own mindfulness. So thank God, I have TikTok. TikTok serve as my EKG of if I'm saying it right or I'm saying it wrong. Because obviously, if we go from 80 viewers to 5, that means they're like, oh, he's definitely really weird. We need to find another teacher. The next exercise, called mindfulness and clear comprehension, applies mindfulness to the diverse activities of daily life. When performing any action, one knows exactly what one is doing and why one is doing it. In this way, such ordinary action as going out and coming back, looking ahead and looking aside, bending and stretching the limbs, dressing, eating, drinking, urinating, defecating, falling asleep, waking up, speaking, remaining silent, all becomes part of the process of meditative cultivation. Everyday life itself becomes full bodied practice, and the practice becomes full embodied in everyday life.
So do what you're doing and don't do anything else when you're doing it.
And know what you're doing and why you're doing it.
Yeah.
Distractions.
let's take it from this context when it said stretching the limbs, dressing, eating, drinking, urinating, defecating, falling asleep, waking up. The falling asleep and waking up is something I'm working with Stephen because he says he's getting enough sleep but still waking up tired. So it's psychosomatic, psychological. And the urinating and defecating is very important because if you are not aware that you're urinating or don't enjoy the process or don't really take the time to analyze the urination or the defecation, it could give you signs that something's wrong with your body. Cloud in the urine is bacterial infection, UTI, whatever the case may be. There's a book called What Your Poo or What Your Poop is Telling You. Poo or poop's telling you. Literally, it like tells you when your poop comes out, what is it telling you about your internal intestines is doing, is happening. So, I mean, the Buddha knew this. That's why he wrote it. When attending to nature's call, just attend to nature's call. So not only that we are mindful about what one knows exactly what one is doing and why one is doing it. And so Steve is very quiet, and I'm like, wow, you're obviously very quiet today, Stephen. You're not checking your phone. And he says, there is no need to. So he knows, and he also gives the why. Mhm. Because someone can know, but then they don't know the why, and that's puzzling to me as a teacher. And like, how do you not know why? Because I haven't thought about it. But then, what were your thoughts on? Right?
Yeah.
Uh, the next two exercises in mindfulness of the body are analytical com- contemplation of the body's real nature. The first is the meditation on the body's unattractiveness, proposed as the direct antidote to sensual lust. The Buddha teaches that lust arises and proliferates through the perception of the body as sensual alluring. To counteract lust, we look deeply into the body's anatomical constitution, mentally dissecting the body, your own body, into its components to bring to light its unattractive nature. The text mentioned 32 bodily parts, which includes various organs, tissues, and bodily fluids. That's 32parts.com. Just to keep it short, easy, 32parts.com gives you the whole comprehensive list and into the details of it. And these are people who are too attached to their body to the point where they, pump up their butt, boobs, face,
Yeah.
nose, really attached to their body. Um, when these are seen with the eye of meditative vision, the body's lovely appearance dissolved and sensual lust left without a foothold withers away. And again, this is for only students who are really attached to their body. And again, it gets like my skin got to be white, so they go get whitening products. And we all know whitening products are cancer causing, very terrible right now globally. It's a global pandemic about the skin whitening products because people prefer white skin over darker skin for all sorts of reasons. It is the gold standard of dermatology. Of yeah. So, but for monastics, we use this directly to, again, any fine girls or women or whatever. We're trained to see right through your body, into your body, blood, pus, saliva, spit, snot. so, so when I see humans, I see the chemical makeups of humans. I see bones. I see rotting decay. I see
Fatty tissue.
fatty tissue. I see mucus, all of that. The other analytical contemplation is meditation on the four physical elements. That's what you were talking about here. The aim to counter our innate tendency to identify with the body by exposing its impersonal nature. It is this practice we mentally dissect the body into four primary elements referred to as earth, water, fire, air, representing the four properties of solidity, fluidity, heat, and pressure. Having analyzed the body into the four elements, one considers all the elements are essentially identical with their external counterpart. This shows that the body is nothing more than a particular constellation of changing material processes without any substantial basis for the notion of I and mine. Well, it's pretty simple. The next time you go out and you buy a piece of steak or a piece of pork, don't cook it, bring it home and just look at it. Bring it home and put it right in front of you, the piece of meat, and look at it and stare at it and smell it and touch it and feel it and wait for hours to pass by and see it decay. Take it, put it out in the yard and watch it decompose. That's you.
It's a good experiment.
Hmm. Well, that's a nice way of giving it to all of you because we monks sit in front of dead, decaying, rotting corpses within 2 centimeters. We literally get really close to the body like this and just watch it unfold, the decomposition stages. And we really look at the body and we see that body is our body. Like they make sure you get the point. Training for monks is extremely morbid and it's just very penetrative into the veins of a monk's blood type. Because we're more attached to our body than anything out there in the world. That's why there's $1 billion industry in dermatology. I gotta look young. I can't stand this wrinkle. Oh my God, there's one wrinkle on my forehead, girl. you know, Botox and all of these. Goodness gracious. Oh, I really wanted to have fun with the world with these teachings, but it should reserve for another day. You all know I have tricks up my sleeve. Another day. The last exercise in mindfulness of the body is a series of 9 cardinal ground contemplation, meditation on the body's disintegration after death. This can be practiced. Okay. This can be practiced imaginatively or with the aid of pictures. One obtains a clear mental image of the decomposing body in 9 stages and then applies the process of decay to one's own body, reflecting this body too is subject to the same fate. It is too must eventually decompose. The aim, though, is not to incite a morbid fascination with death and corpses, but to surrender, or to sunder our instinctive clinging to the body by exposing its inexorable transience. Of that is why Stan was here, the real actual skeleton. Stan was here. You all laid next to him, and you all were like, "Damn!" When you look at him closely enough, you're just like, "Damn!" His teeth falling off and bones, and you see the discs, the L's, L3, L4, L5, L6, and you realize that holy cow, this is me. This is me, but I have meat, but I have muscles, and I have all these, nervous system and wirings that help me function. But who is going to love you when there is no flesh on your bones? Imagine a bunch of skeletons running around with Walmart bags. It ain't sexy then, right? Who's going to love you when there's no flesh on your bones?
My dog.
Well, yeah, you're right. They'll grab your femur and run away with it. Give me my femur back. Let me see what else I want to add. Make it catchy. Let me throw this out to the Gen Zoomers out there as you all are watching this. Good amount of number that's watching this right now. See people for who they are, not exterior qualities. No boobs, no butt, no penis. It's something that Sadhguru also touched upon about the fascination of certain particular body parts. And within the 32 parts of the body, the private parts are not included, which is disappointing. Which is disappointing because it is exactly that humans are actually attached to the point where they're like, well, send me a picture of your beep. And then now we have the sextortions cases where once certain private parts are exchanged, boobs, butt, penis, then the other party uses it for extortion and extorting money. Then the young student commits suicide in such large numbers. So, therefore, the new generation who wants to fall in love needs to see your partner as who they are. Look at the inside their heart. Look for the heart, not she's so fine and all this stuff. Yeah, it's the mind's job to delude for sexual endeavors. But when you even analyze sexual endeavors, you realize that sex is not always satisfying. The three marks of existence. So one should look for the innate quality of a human, the loyalty, the caring, the courage, the open communication, all of that. So I just want to throw that out to all the Gen Zoomers out there because you keep on running after certain body parts, you're going to keep it's a thirst that you will never be able to quench versus the true nature of who they are, the beautiful human that they are. Second foundation, contemplation of feeling, mindfulness of feeling, Vedana Nupassana. Feeling does not refer to the emotion, but to the bare affective tone of experience, whether pleasant, painful, or neutral, also known as pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. Feeling is of special importance as an object of contemplation because it serves as fodder for the latent defilements. Pleasant feeling nourishes greed and attachment. Painful feeling provokes aversion, and neutral feeling sustains delusion, manifesting as apathy and complacency. So this, so like, what does all that mean? So remember, I told you all about preference. It's pleasant in here. Well, why is it pleasant? Well, because the AC is 70. Ah, what if it's 90 degrees in here? Is it pleasant then? So this is what Vedana is, mindfulness of feeling and What's another word for feeling? I just lost my train of thought. Sensation. Sensation. Whew, getting old. Um, and so therefore that's why I taught all of you to not have, and this is why we go out in a monastery when it's hot. Remember those days when it's hot and you realize that it was painful. I mean, here in the text it says painful, but if you use the word unpleasant and how the unpleasant feeling can lead to aversion. I'm angry because there's no AC out here, right? But some people are like that, or are they not? Some people are very me, my, I. So the contemplation of feeling is very, very important. We are enslaved by our emotions. We are enslaved by the way how we feel. This feeling aspect gives insight into the procrastination also. Why are you procrastinating? Well, because I don't feel like it. It is a question of mood. And when you're not in the right mood, you will procrastinate that project or without the thing, and you put it for another day. If you sit there and analyze why you procrastinate, you realize it has everything to do with feeling, mood, emotions, and how you cope with it. That's why you procrastinate. A lot of science behind procrastination because everyone does it, and it is very costly. It costs your future, time, money, energy, people. It costs you your job.
I used to be really bad at that. Really bad.
And so, anyways, make no mistake. Do not ever underestimate these four foundations that the Buddha found to be most important to practice in one's life. Feeling is of special importance. Oh, okay, I've already read that. The link between feelings and the defilements, however, is not inevitable, but it can be severed by bringing the feeling that arise into the range of mindfulness. Turning a feeling into an object of mindfulness diffuses the feeling so that it doesn't trigger an unwholesome response that is instead seen as merely an impersonal factor of experience. So when we are unpleasant, when we're out in the sun at the monastery, we're staring at the statue and realize it's hot out here. If you just pause and just meditate, and if you just note the heat and just say hot, 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 and just see the true nature of summer is that it is going to be hot during summer at monastery or anywhere. But where you start developing defilements, unwholesome thoughts, unskillful thoughts is when you say, I can't, but once that I gets into the statement, you already start to cultivate trouble for yourself. I can't believe it's this hot out here. I would rather watch TV and stand here and listen to this monk, me, mine, I. So again, the part of this tradition is that you are psychological and analytical and catch yourself when there's an I in there. That's the best way to catch the mindfulness of feeling, mindfulness of sensation. I got some of these new students that just call me monk. They're like, monk, come here. And I said, sure. I don't. And some of them ask me, they're like, what is your name? And I'm like, just call me monk. I don't even care at this point. Because that's what I am. And, but it's also good for me training other monks is because who exactly do you think you are? Oh, venerable? For how long? Like, so, I'm just a visitor, I'm just a homeless beggar. So it's funny, like I get all sorts of things, and at some point you don't no longer identify or attach onto it or how you feel about it. It's pleasant to be called venerable. It is unpleasant when they don't call me venerable. Then you get angry because of that, or you get ticked off or whatever. Any questions so far about the first foundation and then the second foundation? You get the point, right?
Yeah.
Great.
I was under, I guess I do kind of have a question, because I was under the impression that like using the word neutral in reference to a feeling, like, neither pleasant nor unpleasant, just it is what it is.
So neutral is for the Gen Zoomer. Y'all get ready for this. For the Gen Zoomer, neutral means meh, M-E-H. You know about that text? Meh, M-E-H. It's kind of like, eh. Like, how was the movie? It was meh. What do you mean, meh? What do you mean it's eh? Right? The Gen Zoomers, my goodness, meh. It's like sitting on a couch eating potato chips. Meh. Yeah, sitting there with a banana. Meh. See the banana over there? Yeah, before you came, I was. It's a Sunday, nine in the morning. Meh. So neutral here it states that it could provoke um, laziness,
Okay.
nothing to look forward to, no excitement. Be the enthusiastic Buddhist. And the enthusiastic Buddhist is like, hell yeah, I'm going to conquer my mind today.
Right.
I'm not going to let my mind trip. I'm going to be fully attentive. I'm going to use the best available science to treat my depression, anxiety. That meant, that's what the Venerable says. The Venerable's always been saying that. What the hell does he mean by using the best available science to do depression? That means get out, exercise, watch what you eat, stop eating potato chips, drink plenty of water, look at your sleep, get out, do it. Just do it. Be like the Nike sign. Don't question the science. Just do it because the science is there. This is the closest we have to the truth of beating depression. So damn it, just do it. Don't argue. Don't be a lawyer right now. Get out, up, out, do it. So a lot of these has to do with the hindrances, right? You look at the hindrances and the neutral feeling give rise to the hindrance. Sloth.
Just took the word right out of
Be
my
a
brain.
sloth. Yeah. See a sloth. Sloth is like, you're looking at the darn thing. You're like, do something. The sloth is like, and if it could speak, it would say, meh. But we humans do that when we're watching Netflix. We're eating and we're just doing all these things. And what is your feeling right now? And I've had students do that. Students are, "Hmm, what is this?" And I'm looking at them and they have no emotions. They have nothing. And I'm just like, then I become the okay. Nah. So um so that's new. So just be aware of that. And it's so easy. The Buddha made it so easy for us to remember, neutral, pleasant, unpleasant. And now I expand on it for all of you. So oh yeah, we are probably going to be able to get through all four of them today, actually, in the most simplest and memorable sense to practice. The third foundation of mindfulness is contemplation of mind, citta. Now, all of you remember the word citta, C-I-T-T-A, citta, not sita, citta, which actually means observation of states of mind. States of mind. A lot of videos I did on states of mind, and it blew up into millions of views. Depression is a state of mind, anxiety, state of mind. You are not your thoughts. You are not this particular state of mind permanently. As it comes, as it goes, that is the phenomenon, the working, the mechanics of the mind. As it comes, as it goes. Right now, I'm sad, and you should not make a permanent decision based on a temporary sadness, temporary feeling. Since mind in itself is the bare awareness of an object, states of mind can be distinguished through their associated factors, which give them their distinctive coloring. What the hell does that mean? So let's be aware that we're using the mind to fix the mind. So now you have to exercise supreme intelligence. Intelligence. And so you are the lighthouse. So you are this little ocean. It's not real quite little, but it's enough. It's manageable. You are the ocean, you are the lighthouse, and you are the boat. It's like, damn, really? I am the ocean, I am the water, I am the lighthouse that can see the water, and I'm also the boat. What the hell? So the boat's kind of like, crawling around, driving around on the ocean, and you're the lighthouse watching all this unfold. You're warning the boats not to hit the darn island and not to hit the lighthouse, first and foremost. And you're watching your higher consciousness and your higher intelligence is the lighthouse. You're watching the boat, you realize this boat's not going to stay there forever, they're going to move, things are moving within the sea, this the nature of the sea, the movements of the waves are in and out, the waves are high, the waves are low. This is contemplation of mind. You a referee of your mind. Under this contemplation, the Buddha mentioned 16 mental states grouped in 8 pairs: the mind with lust and without lust, with aversion without aversion, with delusion without delusion, the cramped mind, the scattered mind, the developed mind, the undeveloped mind, the surpassable mind, the unsurpassable mind, the concentrated mind, unconcentrated, the free mind, and the bound mind. What does all that mean? It just means you just know when your mind is tripping, when your mind is not fully developed, when there's dust in your eyes. Dust in the eyes of the mind. What does that also mean? So Austin's dust wasn't really that dusty after all when he sat with me. He was able to clear his lens quickly and enter into profound guided meditation and achieve multiple levels of awakening, direct awakening, direct sense of peace because there were not a lot of dust in his eyes. Whereas Stephen had a little bit more dust than Austin because he was fighting it. His ego was telling him. So we can say that at the time of such meditation, Austin's mind was not scattered, not cramped, not delusional, not angry, no lust, was not unconcentrated, and was not bound. Of course, all of you are to investigate each of these. This is why this requires for you to actually compare 10 extra sources, 10 different sources of the four foundations of mindfulness. You are to listen to YouTube channels on four foundations of mindfulness. You are to compare different teachers and the way how they teach it differently. Because see how deep it is? The Buddha mentioned 16 mental states grouped in 8 pairs. For practical purposes, it is sufficient at the outset to focus on the first 6 states, observing whether the mind is associated with any 3 unwholesome roots, is free from them. When a particular state of mind is present, it is noted merely as a state of mind, not identified as I or mine. whether it is pure state or defiled state, lofty state or low state. No elation or dejection, only a clear identifiable of the state without clinging to the desired one or resenting the undesired ones. Contemplation deepens, seemingly solid, stable mind reveals itself to be a stream of mental acts of flashing in and out of being, coming from nowhere and going nowhere, continuing in sequence without pause, which is the streams of consciousness about the ever changing states of whatever it is that's going on in your mind. This is what, so this whole paragraph, what the hell does that mean? That means before you meditate, start clearing up some drama in your life. Because if there's active drama in your life, as you close your eyes, you're replaying all sorts of movies and headaches and drama, and it's really hard to clear it. Got a call coming in. Hello. Yeah. Yeah. You all reflect on what I just said real quick. We gotta take this call for a second. Bây giờ có cái xanh với lại social chứ. Ừ. Okay. Thank you all for being so patient. Wonderful TikTok people. I do look at the comments. I just, because I'm in the middle of teaching and deep reflections, but I see all of it. The best way to actually have these addressed is to go to my Instagram and DM me, and probably follow me over there too, and stuff, because I get back to the DM on Instagram quite fairly quick. But right now we're reviewing the four foundations of mindfulness, which is extremely profound, extremely effective, and extremely necessary for the practice of Buddhism. This is literally the composition in totality of Buddhism. So my Instagram is Chi Monk. Chi_Dao_monk. Chi Monk. I've changed everything from Venerable Chi to Chi Monk. So Chi Monk on YouTube, Chi Monk on Instagram, TRIDAO. So many of you guys merged over too. So many messages yesterday from yesterday's talk. So as long as you live a simple life, meditation becomes very simple. If you live a complicated life, you can tell this is why the text is analytical and psychological, is because some people don't have a simple mind.
Mm-hmm.
And again, my life has become so simple. As a matter of fact, my practice and life has become so simple that I needed to pull this up to teach it. Because if I teach it my way, it would be so simple that you would have trouble, because we don't know the complexity of your minds. So it's best that I review them from an academic level, so I don't, so no teacher out there will call me out and be like, "Well, you obviously did not do it any justice." Well, that's because I've let a lot everything go. So the fourth foundation, perhaps this is going to be one of the harder ones. The final foundation of mindfulness is contemplation of dhammas, dhammanupassana. The word dhamma refers to groups of phenomenon organized in ways that reflect the goal of the Buddha's teaching. The five groups mentioned in the sutta are the five hindrances, the five aggregate, the six pairs of sense bases, the seven factors of enlightenment, and the Four Noble Truths. The five hindrances, five aggregates, six pair of sense base, seven factors of enlightenment, and Four Noble Truths. Ooh. Oh, and to YouTube people, I didn't even realize you guys were writing because I was looking at my other screen on here, so I didn't realize. Hmm. Here we go through in details here. And this is Lion's Roar. So I'm reading out of lionsroar.com, the Buddha's Four Foundation of Mindfulness. So whoever wants to follow along with me on your computer or whatever, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, if you go to lionsroar.com/ the Buddha's Four Foundations of Mindfulness, or you search it on Google. So that's what I did. I went to Google and put, that's how simple I am. I go on Google, I'm like, Four Foundations of Mindfulness, and I take out the first article and I just expand on it. The five hindrances constitutes the obstacle to realization, while the seven factors of enlightenment are qualities that conduce to realization. The aggregates and sense bases are phenomena for exploration with insight, and the Four Noble Truths constitutes the sphere of realization itself. Well, that's pretty deep. That whole paragraph summarizes all of Buddhism. That paragraph just gave you all insight into the 84,000 teachings. The five hindrances are sensual desire, ill will, dullness, and drowsiness, restlessness, worry, and doubt. Whether one of the hindrances crop up, its presence should be noted, and when it fades away, a note should be made of its disappearance. To ensure that the hindrances are kept under control, the sutta introduces an element of comprehension. We are instructed not merely to note the hindrances, but to discern how they arise, how they can be removed, and how can they prevent it from arising in the future. These are very precise, clear instructions for all of you. When the hindrances subside, we then proceed to investigate the field of experience. This can be undertaken through either of the two complementary objects of contemplation. One is the five aggregates, the objective domain of clinging, material form, feeling, perception, volitional activity, and consciousness. The other is the six sense bases. Let me slow down for a little bit. You all remember the five aggregates? Remember the glass,
Yeah.
the wine glass? Picking it up, looking at it, labeling it, experiencing it, and then finally, that's what it is.
Form, feeling, perception, formations, consciousness.
And for those who are like scratching their head and like, what do you mean five aggregates? Well, we're not going to go through it today because I already went through it. So just go to my YouTube and put five aggregates or something on there. Or you can also look it up elsewhere. But five aggregates, a lot of people scratch their head on it. The other is the sixth sense base, arranged in pairs of sense faculty and object. The eye and visible form, ear, sound, nose, odor, tongue, taste, body and tactile objects, and the mind and mental objects. These are to be directly noted together with any attachment or aversion that arise through the encounter of sense faculty with object. One is to discern how these fetters arise, how they are abandoned, and how they are permanently eliminated. This is why the Buddha closes his eyes, because when your eyes are open, your sense, that faculty is activated, and you see all sorts of things that could potentially move you, disturb you. So therefore, most of the Buddha statues, 99% of the Buddha statues, the Buddha is just chilling. He don't want to see nothing. He don't want to hear nothing. He's just chilling. What does that mean for us humans out there in the world? It means that every time when you're walking and talking and listening to people, don't be moved by external world. How you gonna let somebody else's action disrupt your peace and disturb your emotions because of somebody's foolishness out in the world? That in itself, you have to like scratch your head and be like, what? Really? Likewise, for the holidays, a lot of people were depressed, suicidal, anxious. Why? It's just another day. But because your senses were open, you started to do social comparison. Other people have families, and why I don't have family? And I'm hearing Christmas music, and Christmas music sucks. I hope Santa Claus, gets stuck in the chimney. Um, you know, so so be aware of the six sense bases. It was formerly five, but then they added the mind, so the six. Basically, it's all on your face: eyes, nose, tongue, ears, mind, and then there's body, which is touching. For young students who are always with me, and a beautiful girl, a sexy, beautiful girl walks in, I look at the male student and I said, don't touch it. Don't touch it. Don't talk to it. Don't wink at it. Don't smell it. Don't scratch it. Don't sniff it. So that they bring awareness to the six sense bases. Don't think about it. And when any student is with me, I need not to say that in public. I need to say to you, ayatana, because ayatana is the Pali and our secret language for the sixth sense basis. So any students who are with me, and if I believe that a certain human will disrupt your peace or could activate you, I will say, be aware of your ayatana, meditation on ayatana. Because I don't want the girl to sit next to us and then the teacher is like, don't look at it, don't scratch it, don't sniff it, don't talk to it, don't think about it. That would be quite rude. The girl's gonna feel like, what did I do to you? The six sense bases give priority to the domain of cognition, the sensory spheres in which experience unfolds. The five aggregate lay bare the constituent factors of experience with greater attention to the mental component. Pretty much that sentence says it's a can of whoop ass when you start seeing things, hearing things, and start labeling it perception, feeling. This is where the potential and likely chance the mind can fall into delusion if it does not have the foundations of understanding of the Four Noble Truths. As the process of contemplation proceeds, it brings into play the seven factors of enlightenment, which is yay, which is like, yes, yes, we've been talking about stuff that reigns, that reigns. Now where's the party at? And the party is here. The party is enlightenment. Mindfulness, investigation of phenomena, energy, rapture, tranquility, concentration, and equanimity. Seven factors of enlightenment. Mindfulness, investigation of dhamma, which is phenomena, energy, rapture, tranquility, concentration, equanimity. What does that mean in short? Be aware of what's happening, have energy, not laziness, rapture, joy, have joy in your life, tranquility, calm, serene, collective, concentration, the ability to sit still, focus on something, make sense of it, and equanimity, back to calming again. When one of these factors arises, its presence should be noted. Then one should see how the factor can be aroused and how it can be brought to fulfillment. Oh, so beautiful. Know when there's mindfulness, know when there's energy, know when there's joy, know when there's tranquility, know when there's concentration, know when there's equanimity. Know how it got to be where it's at right now, that it is arising now. Know how we can bring this into fulfilling the goal of enlightenment. Furthermore, the seven factors unfold in sequence. Mindfulness initiates the contemplative process. Stable mindfulness gives rise to investigation, the probing quality of intelligence. Yes, this is where my language comes in. You hear that? Mindfulness initiates the contemplative process. By being aware, we're able to contemplate and start the process of investigation. A stable mindfulness, meaning consistent, persistent, stable. Consistent, persistent stableness gives rise to investigation, the probing quality of intelligence. This is where you exercise intelligence, discernment. Investigation calls forth energy. Energy requires rapture. Kind of like archaeologists, they're like, ooh, bones on the ground could be a Tyrannosaurus. And they're like, let's go investigate. And they get filled with so much energy to investigate. They're like, grab your brush, grab that little thingy, let's go down and do the little thingy on the bone and don't hurt it and let's investigate. What is it? What kind of dinosaur is it? Energy generates rapture. Rapture is joy. So because they have all the energy trying to brush off the bone, all the dust off the bone, they're like, I can't wait. Joy leads to tranquility. And then as they're doing this, they're like, oh, this is so calming. I'm in the present moment of trying to get tranquility leads to concentration. That means they're fully aware of what kind of bone it is, the joints, and all of that. And concentration to equanimity. Equanimity is calm. Let me look both of these up. The difference between tranquility and equanimity. Dang it, getting old. Mental calmness, composure, evenness of temper, especially in difficult situation. It's equanimity. And the other one was tranquility. State of being calm. Exactly, I was right. It's the same thing. My mind tripping right now. Ooh. The seven factor unfold in sequence. Mindfulness initiate. Oh, the whole evolving course of practice leading to enlightenment thus begins with mindfulness, which remains constant throughout the regulating power, ensuring that the mind is clear, cognizant, and balanced. These words are so beautiful. The whole evolving course of practice leading to enlightenment begins with mindfulness, which remains constant throughout the regulating power, ensuring that the mind is clear, cognizant, and balanced. And here's the end paragraph for today. Finally, when the seven factors of enlightenment reaches maturity, they blossom in the direct realization of the Four Noble Truths. So beautiful. The truth of suffering, its origin, cessation, and the path. It is realization, the penetration of the Four Noble Truth, that permanently uproots the defilement and brings the extinction of suffering. This fulfills the Buddha's promise at the opening of the discourse, his declaration that these four foundations of mindfulness lead in one direction towards the full purification of beings, the ending of sorrow and grief, and the realization of nirvana. Are you a saint yet? Because after that, you should be a saint.
It's all circular. It's like nirvana's in the circle, and it's like you start with understanding the Four Noble Truths, and then you do all these things, and you end up back at the beginning, and it all works together. Everything I've noticed that we've learned is always work together.
Interconnectedness.
Yeah. There's really no beginning or end.
The Noble Eightfold Path can actually be practiced from top down or bottom up.
Yeah.
But usually I always start from the top down, starting with right view.
Right.
But it's actually ding, 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 like that. It throws us off too. When the seven factors of enlightenment reaches maturity, they blossom in the direct realization of the Four Noble Truths. Oh, God, someone's got to have 3 PhDs writing these beautiful words. Just get straight to the point. I can sit here all day looking at this paragraph for months. That's how beautiful and deep these words are. You know what I mean? This is like holding the Holy Bible in your chest to sleep, to bed, waking up with it, looking at it, crying over it. I can literally cry over these sentences because it will liberate you had you just follow the darn thing in details and bring it to maturity and bring it to fulfillment. And eventually your wishes will be fulfilled. The eradication of suffering, the complete, permanent eradication of suffering can and will be reached. Quite frankly, as we end today's session, because I realize you all have low back issues if we're taking frequent mindfulness of lying down.
Only on the bathroom break.
As we come to today's end, Austin and I share a nibbanic moment. These are some things that you really want to hear. These are something that you really pay attention to when the teacher shares a nibbanic moment with any students. As you all are aware, on YouTube Live, I dragged my phones out, hit live in a parking lot in front of a bank at night. Doesn't sound like a great idea, especially from a law enforcement standpoint. And we meditated, and Austin was at complete bliss of peace. He did not want to get up from the parking lot at 12 o'clock at night, leading into 1 o'clock. The parking lot is adjacent to a house filled with guns and cameras, by the way. But we were at supreme bliss and sharing this profound moment. And that was the moment of the Nibbanic experience, even though it is just a moment. He's not a saint. I'm not a saint. It was just a glimpse of that peace. But it is a glimpse that he will never forget, as he spoke about it over and over again. He spoke about it on live to everyone over and over again. He reinforces that experience and how he even said at one point they should make it law for mindfulness practice to be in place. So, just very beautiful words to reflect on and to expand on. Again, you don't have to get all deep into it. It depends. You know, if you have to get deep into it, if something strikes you and something is bothered, only you know the defilement or what's lurking inside of your mind that's keeping you from being mindful. But again, this requires you all to reflect deeply, and the noble truth should never be forgotten. And just yesterday in the car, I was dictating in my book on Third Noble Truth, and it's just like I couldn't tell you how many times. I don't know how many times I have repeated myself about giving up, renouncing. The Third Noble Truth is reaching enlightenment and giving up. Give up. This is how you stop suffering. And I just get all over again. I'm just and I said it. I'm dictating. I'm talking. I'm just like it's like I'm talking here. I'm just like yeah, just really think about giving up your old ways and your old days, giving up all the old habits, and how well has it been working out for you? I spoke to a student in his 50s that's been dealing with depression for the past like 40 years, been doing the same stuff. Why are we still here at 40 years later? Why have you not caught yourself doing the same crap over and over again? Have you ever asked yourself, why are we still doing the same crap? 40 years later, we're still stuck with the same diagnosis, with the same suffering. Thank God you meet me at 50, because imagine you meet me at 90 and dealing with depression for 80 years. Recycling of the past, creating hell, self hatred, negative perpetual self talk. So, again, reflect on it. The Third Noble Truth is very compelling, it creates momentum. We're making tremendous amount of progress for the beginning of January, and we're already touching on the four foundations of mindfulness. So next week, I want you all to really reflect on this and if you have any questions on the four, it has to be clarified. The the all of this, that last paragraph that I read, should any clarifications on them. Okay, a good student of this particular school has to understand comprehensively and effectively. No confusions about it. About the seven factors of enlightenment, the five hindrance, four noble truth, no way, full path. Cannot have any confusion about it whatsoever. Confusion leads to doubts. Confusion leads to more defilements. Confusion leads to ignorance, leads to delusion. Okay. Any questions so far? No.
Just continue to study the foundations of mindfulness in depth.
And by the way, since I caught you guys lying down and resting, stuff like that, one of the things about sitting and absorbing the teachings of the Buddha, physically, it's enduring. Mentally, it is also enduring. And by the way, 3 days ago, I grilled Stephen for lack of mindfulness, potentially making a mistake. And if you haven't heard me grill someone, it's about 4 hours long. Mental endurance. I have to make sure they don't ever forget. What I'm trying to say is, as we sit and as we are attentive, the luminous mind and the enduring body, we learn to tolerate pain. We learn to tolerate just the discomfort within the body. Because in your life, you will experience more pain. Embrace it, welcome it, and you know how to sit through it, through the needle, through the procedure, through the surgery. That's why mindfulness has direct implication to help you to ease the process as you're going through it, through the pain, into the pain, with the pain, and not away from the pain. And just when you think you're suffering, just remember someone else also suffers even worse, like the monks in Thailand who are training, who have to do a lot of strenuous stuff. So never be too comfortable, never be too complacent. Don't let neutral feeling subside. Don't let unpleasantness bring forth anger, and don't be attached to anything that is pleasant, both mind and body. So as we come to today's conclusion, let us give the chanting, the blessing verse as we conclude today's session. Yatha varivaha pura pari purenti sakarang evame ito dinang petanang upakapati ijitang patitang tamhang kipame wasame jatu sabbe purentu sankapachando panyaraso yatha manicho tiraso yatha Sabitiyo vivajantu sappharogo vinasattumate bhavantvantarayo sukhi Dihayuko bhava abhivadana sile sanicang vuttha bhajanino Jataro Dhamma Vatanti Ayuwano Sokhang Halang Bhavatu Sapamangalang Rakantu Sapadevada Sapabuddha Dufa Vena Sada Soti Bhavantu Te Bhavatu Sapamangalang Rakantu Sapadevada Sapadhamma Nupa Vena Sada Soti Bhavantu Te Bhavatu Sapamangalang Rakantu Sapadevada Sapasangha Nupa Vena Sada Soti Bhavantu Te. May you all go in peace after today. Looking forward to a victorious Monday tomorrow. May you reflect on the four foundations of mindfulness, the most profound teachings in all of his books, in all of his teachings. Insight meditation necessary to conquer life, insight meditation necessary to conquer oneself. You may battle 1,000 battles 1,000 times. The noblest victor of all is one who won the battle within himself. And that the four foundations of mindfulness teaches you how to win that particular unique battle within yourself. May you reflect on everything that we've spoken here today. The Dhamma protects you, the Dhamma guides you, the Dhamma is forever with you. The Dhamma is your raft to hang on to get from point A to point B. The raft towards enlightenment. And as you near enlightenment, you let go of this raft. We are making tremendous progress. May you reflect on all of the hard work that you have put in and that you are close to graduating. As we embrace the new year, new intentions, new volitions, new goals, we stand by them. We will finish what we have started. May you all be well, be happy, always be healthy. May you find inner peace, tranquility, calmness, equanimity. May you taste enlightenment. May you know what it's like to be at peace. May you realize the light of your own true nature. May your heart always remain open. May you be healed and be a source of healing for other humans. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Okay. Have a wonderful viewing on TikTok. I invite everyone on TikTok to move to my YouTube for a whole library of teachings as it addresses all of your questions that was mentioned here. That I do see them. It is visible. As I get ready to wrap up, I have an appointment at 12, so it's 11:13 now. Thank goodness I brought all of the toys because you notice there's less laptops today.
Yes.
That's because I forgot the chargers. So much for mindfulness. The fifth foundation of mindfulness, the fifth one is to be mindful of your chargers. Foundations for the modern day monk.